right, let's jump into it a little bit later today. Just running around a bit this morning, but just before 2 o'clock, so 1:57 p.m. First day of the new trading year, basically financial year for us here, and first day of the second half, first day of the quarter. Second day of the week, of course, but yeah, we'll jump into it. So, wasn't a great deal of sort of data and nothing that really sort of shaped the market. I sort of found sort of through that Monday session. I mean, we had a little bit of this China data out, but as you can see, pretty much sort of came in as expected in that, and nothing else super relevant to sort of what I was overly sort of looking at. I guess we've got Chicago PMI here, not really something that I would say, hey, is going to sort of like make or break the market. But obviously, still, these numbers are coming in quite weak, actually very weak down here, because of course these ones are still those PMIs with those 50 point baselines. Through this morning, not a great deal. Sort of again, it's just quiet. I think the week really is going to start to pick up from sort of like actually tonight. I was going to say tomorrow, but technically tomorrow, but later tonight we've got Powell talking. Again, I don't think there's going to be any sort of shocking sort of thing. There's no bit of data that it can now sort of relate and talk to it a bit and talk about it a bit more. Just trying to get my words out. We got ISM, manufacturing, and JOLTS. And as I said over the weekend, I think these job numbers. I mean, JOLTS isn't like the major one of it all. Obviously, sort of NFP, which is again coming a day earlier this week, and ADP, which will be tomorrow. Um, they're going to be the ones that are going to move it a bit more. But it's all about sort of plugging these sort of things in. And, for US dollar to find any sort of buying, it needs to at least be able to sort of say, hey, look, I mean, all the tariff fears, all the, well, I guess the war's old news now, the tariff fears and that, and loss of confidence over in the US, and the fact that all these cuts are coming, and, Trump wants to replace Powell, all these sort of things if they can at least sort of hold on to the idea, well, hey, look, jobs market isn't too bad, that's something sort of contradictory to this whole sort of, hey, look, we need to cut sooner rather than later kind of sort of narrative that there's very, very hard pushing. And that's basically just what's leading to, I mean, it's not the only thing, but it's one of the major things leading to a very strong sell-off of the US dollar. So I was actually looking at some sort of headlines earlier, and they were saying, I think some ridiculous amount of time in that since we've had a first half of the year. I think 1973, I think is what they were sort of saying. Like, that's how long we're talking, 50 odd years, 52 years, that must be. Basically, from when they came off the gold standard, is what I believe it was. Have they not had such a shocking start to the year with DXY, with the US dollar? So, yeah, it's certainly going from weakness to weakness. But yeah, so I mean, look, these kind of things, when you're hitting extreme levels of selling, there will be a snap back, but it's like anything in life. It's like, can't time the bottom, and, trying to catch a knife is always a little bit dangerous. But, surely at some stage it must sort of snap back because it just, I mean, for weeks and weeks now, it just has not been able to catch a bit. I mean, look, pretty much, as I said, the whole year, but pretty much the last couple of weeks, it has just been absolutely like accelerated like foot on the pedal of sort of selling this sort of stuff. So I think getting back to the original point, I think these job numbers, like job openings tonight, are going to be kind of important. ISM's looking to come in fairly flat here as well. Again, look, anything above 50 is going to be a little bit more sort of positive for them. The manufacturing data is always, well, mostly has seemed to be a little bit of the weaker opposed to services and that more recently as well. But as I said, with the job numbers, expecting a small little tick down with this job jolts, which is job openings. And of course, sort of like, if they see something positive that, it might at least stop it from being sold off again. Because the thing is, it's at the moment, there's like any small little miss in data, and they're just like, that's a great excuse, let's sell it, bang, excuse me, and they sort of hammer it down. So let's jump onto the charts. Look, I'll sort of may as well start off with DXY there because this thing is just getting absolutely obliterated. I was sort of having a look at some other stuff here, and look, I mean, this is what we were trying to look at the other day to see if, okay, maybe we would hold this level. Hasn't done so. It's come down. These are those sort of little red lines that have said, look, they're not necessarily going to be bases, but they could be sort of little speed humps. And we are trying to find a little bit of support sort of through here. But again, look, it's just through Asia. It's not really anything super spectacular. I really thought, I was surprised that we got a breakdown. I thought with NFP and ADP coming this week, I thought we would have seen a little bit more ranging through this period here. And I thought, look, look to close these gaps because, as I said, they've just left them open here. And what I've sort of found with these gaps, they'll either close them straight away and then boop, disappear, come up later in euro for that in that session, but in Euro session and come up and close there, so use a bit of a magnet. But if it fails to close it on the day and then in the Euro session, so Asia Open and then sort of Euro session, up to 2 weeks generally these things can sort of take. And I mean, if we go back to this now, as I said, that's 24th, so that's a week now. And this gap is, I mean, we're not even close. I mean, it's not even moving in the direction to look like I might want to close it. This lower gap obviously tried to on the day, but then obviously sort of hammered down as well. So look, I do still think that these are little magnets, and should US dollar find a bid, maybe we'll get back up over the top over here. But for the time being, it is really not doing a great deal. I guess you could kind of call out this little channel here now. I mean, look, it's so many of these little technical things. It's funny. This year has been very tough for your sort of typical traditional sort of technical analysis I've found. It was like particularly I noticed a lot of it when gold was going insane. A couple of weeks ago, well, probably a month or whatever it was ago now, when it went up to that sort of 3,500 high. And there was just no technicals that could work with it all. It would look like as here's your wedge and it's sort of pulling over and whatever. And just nothing was real. They were just buying it no matter what. And this is what makes technicals hard because, okay, there's no, like, I always sort of say this, that sort of like, when you can see it, even if something's selling down, it doesn't matter. As long as it's happening in a structured sort of way, you can go, okay, well, it's happening in a structured way. So you can sort of plan your entries, you can pick your little short-term targets, these kind of things. But when it's just like basically emotional, uh, buying, selling, whatever, buying in the case of gold, selling in the case of the US dollar here, it's very hard to sort of pull any of these technicals out. Like, oh, here's a gap, just go to close it. No. Here's a wedge, break it. No. I mean, look, with this wedge kind of thing here, you could see it did attempt it, but then obviously slapped on the nose. But this wasn't ever going to be the biggest sort of like bottom of everything, but it should have garnered a little bit more of a reaction than this little dribble out to the side. And another thing that I have sort of found with these sort of falling resistance and supports and yada yada, if they are to work, you want to see an explosive move once it breaks. You don't want to have something like, even if this was to say be more like, not that this actually works out, but say it was a channel and it comes to the side of the channel and it works for the same when you're moving up, when you're moving down, you want to see it go do 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 and then bang, an explosion, because a bang in the explosion means that basically there's stops in that are being involved. There's people going, okay, look, I'll trade this channel, this wedge, whatever it may be, till it's not valid anymore, and they're like, okay, bang, it's not valid, and I want to get out of my positions, and that gives you that bang explosion up. Then maybe it dribbles back, retest breakout levels, whatever, moves on. But when you see things just come out to the side and dribble, basically to me it just sort of says that the market's not actually looking at that. So albeit that this is, oh yeah, it's a bit of a wedge and yada yada, and okay, yeah, it's stabilized a little bit into weekly close. Yeah, that was it. Like there was no explosive move out here, and obviously just a little sort of grinding range, and bang, we're falling out the bottom side here. So yet again, another day going, hey, maybe this is it. Maybe we'll find a little bit of a low for now. Who knows? I mean, as I said, we got that data coming out later. Um, Look, it's one of those things, as I just said at the start of this thing, it's very tough trying to sort of catch a knife with this stuff. And, timing the bottom is, there's no bell to sort of say, hey, that's it. And you can sort of say, hey, look, it's so sold down, it's so sold down. But once you start getting these headlines of like it's, biggest sell off and that since 19, like 50 years, 52 years it must be now. Surely at some point that's where people are starting to go, okay, maybe I can sell into these headlines and let that a little bit, and in this case, buy into those headlines as people try to sort of short these things more and more. But look, I mean, it's pretty clear cut. You want to get back up into this little range as one little move. You want to get out of the range. You want to get like, it's just there's little levels all the way up here. But really, till you can break some sort of larger form of structure, which again, even in the short term, you want to be getting back up above 99.30. I mean, we're at 96 right now, so that's a long, long way up. It's a bit hard to sort of get too sort of pumped about US dollar doing much at all. Look, I do think eventually, obviously, as I said, it will catch a bid, and I think when it does catch a bid, it's going to rocket on for a little while. So I don't think it's going to catch a bid and then come here and fall over. But as I said, look, that could be coming from here, it could be coming from down here, 95, and that. I mean, I've heard some calls which I thought were pretty ludicrous down in like, low 90s, 80s, these kind of things previously. But that's the thing when I mean, I know it's cliche, but like when people say, hey, you don't think it can move there? Yeah, well, that's when it does move there. So, look, a lot of work for it to do. First things first, back up above 97, 97.15, back up into this little range, and then maybe see if you can sort of move up and target these little, let's get rid of this one here and this one here because they're invalid. These little areas, close the gaps, those kind of things for a little bit of a move there. But I think till you start to get some sort of actual full narrative sort of changing. Excuse me. You're yeah, I mean it's still destined just to be sold into, and that's the thing as well. Like when these things move up only two sec, like 2 centimeters, whatever, and it gets hammered straight into, wow, you can see that that pressure is strong because they're not even giving it a chance to recover. Like they're like, oh look, it's up a bit, bang, smash it down again straight away. So you need to see some of that sort of stuff sort of break there. But as I said, look, realistically, short term, 97.80 back up into this higher kind of sort of range, I think maybe you could see a little bit of a sort of move around here. But at the moment, realistically, it's just continuing. Let's get rid of this. Oops, not that one. This one. Drag this out a little bit more. Yeah, until you can get back up above that, it's almost looking a little bit general. Even after everything I've just said. So it's like, yeah. Anyway, look, we'll see how we go in that. Work to be done. It's just another day, another dollar sell down. It seems to be very much the theory, the sort of pattern at the moment. I'll flip on to gold because gold actually traded beautifully, as you can see, coming right off this zone that we had marked out down there. Like obviously, I've had this on a couple number of different charts, but look, it is very much sort of following the pattern that we kind of sort of saw. Look, maybe this bounce has come a little bit higher than I kind of would have thought at first. I was like, okay, I put a chart up yesterday on X saying, hey, look here, we're in backtest territory, and we are still in backtest territory. Till you really sort of getting above sort of maybe 33.60, then you could say, okay, maybe it's going to go a little bit higher here. But I think even if it does move up to these levels over here, this 33.40, I think you're going to get a reaction from here if this just decides to sort of keep grinding up here a little bit more. And again, look, while it's been going very like gold will always go a little bit in and out of US dollar sort of correlation. But it seems to have been catching a bid earlier this week anyway. A little bit of a sell down on open yesterday just to kiss that price target. So 32.40 to 32.50 is what we were kind of looking for. And I think it came in at 47 or so. So yeah, did that, then kissed and then bounced straight back up over here. So look, it's obviously, look, it's come down from, you know, sort of 34.51. So more or less, it came down sort of $200. You got to expect this thing to have a little bit of a bounce and a balance in it as well, because these sort of price targets as well, like it's not some hidden sort of gem kind of thing. Other people are trading these things as well, so people can see this. But if we look at sort of where it's come there, it's still only around the 38%. I'm pretty sure at the moment. Um, let's go down. Yeah, as you can see, we're coming up to 38% here. I could see it probably grinding a little bit further. It's still got a little bit of room. Look, that looks healthy enough on the RSI to potentially squeeze up a little bit more. US dollar still under pressure. No reason for it to necessarily turn around too much at the moment. I do think up around this sort of like 33.40, you could start to see some little sell down there. And then you got to think, is this thing actually going to follow course and sort of come down? Are we going to hit these targets or start to move towards these targets down over here? Or could that then potentially be turning into a inverted head and shoulders, which means that we could be going back up. If dollar stays under pressure and wants to break down towards those 90s levels, there's a good chance that this could as well. I saw somebody put up one of these before, like a channel resistance. I'm like, nah, not for me. Not yet, I don't think. I mean, let's leave this one in here. just for the sake of it. But no, I mean, just taking those highs through here and here. But I don't know how they got that. It was one of these news outlets as well. Anyway, cool. So I guess that's pretty much where we're looking at. And if you look at where this is starting to come in here, should this sort of thing grind up a little bit more here? Well, I mean, pretty much right in contact here, you've got falling resistance, horizontal comes in around the same point here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this squeezes up another 20 bucks or so before we start to see some sort of push down reaction coming back down over here. And then we sort of work out, is it going to, you see where the buyers are? Do the buyers sort of step up their bid, come back in here around the sort of like, 33.10 level, which we know was a good key breakdown level over here. And if they do, then we could be in line for an inverted head and shoulders, which of course, takes you 70, not including the wick, because I've pretty much cut out using the wicks with these price targets. A better hit ratio when you don't. 70 to 40, so what's that? 70 buck move. So 70 on top of that takes you back to 410, which is pretty much up here. For some reason, I've got that level marked out there, but it's also around that 78% retracement. Should that play out, I mean, look, it's early days. We could find that this actually just does continue and still comes down over here. But in the short term, I think a little bit more sort of upside here potentially before we start to see this thing correct a little bit. Flip it along, we got silver, and silver sells pretty much. It's come very close for this little move over here. Again, look at this. It's just been just growing. The buying is very strong down here. Whether it's be like this is on a 4 hour here, but whether it be in 1 hour, like with it, sorry, one candle, wicking it straight up, or they just go maybe it was at the end of that 4 hour candle, but straight away they bought it straight back up. Any chance that people have had down here, they're jumping back on board with it all. So I think we're coming to a pretty pivotal point with silver. I'd be happy enough to almost say that this is enough of a test of this rising support. I mean, look, it's no shocker given all these other sort of buy up sort of things that we've seen here as well. I still think, if you take out these wicks, if we see this horizontal give way, that'll be the same time that this sort of rising support gives way. I still think there's potential for some downside with this here. But, as I said, getting to a pivotal point here. Head and shoulders are good, but this is a bit of a choppy, messy, ugly neckline kind of thing. So it's more just you're looking at the peaks here. I think if you go above sort of 3680s, above these highs here, then I think this is just potential just to turn into either a sort of a further sort of consolidation, which would just come out the side here, or puts it back on the cards that you could be going higher. Look, it's had a lot of chances to break down. You got to think there's a lot of profit on sitting on this thing here from those sort of April lows. It's going to come right back up. So, if they want to sell it down, they will. But this is why I think it'll be pivotal. The sort of, 3430s, 3450s, this band through here where it's been bought up time and time again. If you see this super strong buying pressure go, hey, look, it's not for us, that's what potentially will lead you for your downside there. But I think it's coming to a point here, as you can see, is very much like a triangle coming to the tip here, and very much you kind of want to just take out. Where's a little thing going? You either want to take out these lows or these highs, and I think that's going to give you your direction for it. Flip along. So we had Aussie finally got its breakout. Geez, this thing here, it's as I've said a couple of times, it was, I think, what was it? It was 7 weeks. It tested above 65, but was unable to close above 65. And obviously, just coming into the weekend, sold down a little bit, found some buying pressure in that sort of coming into the actual close. But that was it. That was the key. That was the sort of one where it's okay, look, 8 weeks in total. It took 7 weeks unable to do it. On the eighth week, it did do it. And then bang, look at how it goes on the Monday after that. So it's shot itself up here. It's obviously got itself a nice little bit of a breakout. And this is the first time we've actually seen it sort of take out the highs and with a solid candle. These ones more previously have just been a little bit of, I suppose they're not too bad at the time, but they sort of dribble back down, dribble back down. But it has taken it over this large 61%. And the 61%, that's like from October last year to April this year drop off kind of thing. So this has obviously been a very strong resistance level here. It's tested above a one last time, got above it. It's trying to hold the top side of it here. So take out the highs. We saw a little bit of a sell down today. It seems to be finding a few buyers coming back in now, but take out what's that, 65.85, and then that's confirmed that done with that level, and you're probably looking to move on mid 66s, I would say, on that. See what happens. I mean, look, US dollar's very much just still under pressure. So, till that turns around. I mean, this little back test here is looking pretty much on point to be pushed up here. It was questionable for a minute. If you have a look on the lower time frames, it sort of came back down here and it was kind of like thinking about it. Even just this little bounce here very much could have sort of just rolled over and dribbled back down into it. But that's the thing. I mean, US dollar selling is the theme. Everybody's sort of benefiting off the back of that. Move along, we've got China, and China sort of found a little bit of support down into this sort of like kind of a confluence because it's the bottom of this like wedge here and a bit of this horizontal that we got sort of marked out. So look, it's down there. It's found some buys pretty much on point. Look, it's a bit hard to sort of back anything with any sort of US dollar. I mean, this is actually holding up a little bit better than anything else in comparison. Like it's actually holding its bounce a little bit. Everything else is pretty much almost sort of dribble back down to its lows. Well, its highs kind of thing, sort of reversed its move from where it did sort of react this morning. So yeah, look, I think certainly it's just this wedge. I think bottom side now we're looking for this. Top side, could probably reduce it down a little bit. I mean, you're still needing that kind of move through there, really, to see some direction. I mean, even this sort of breakdown here, like, this is a thought, like break this line here, you're going to be coming here. Okay, that's fine, but very difficult to get it down. Like these sort of swings and pushes back up and that, yeah, it did get down there, but it wasn't a clean move. It's very sort of choppy in that. So it's the thing that sort of makes me think that sort of like, if this thing wants to sell off and sell off hard, you're looking for these big fast moves down to the bottom side. Certainly, I think underneath 714, you might start to see a little bit of a quick move because obviously we haven't got much in this area to sort of hold it up. But again, that may just sort of be a dribble down to there opposed to any sort of super fast moves. Cool. And finally with copper, copper sort of bashed right up into this resistance area. Multiple sort of touches here. Very nice sort of back test here to come back up. About 2% move, probably a little bit more actually if you think sort of where it actually got down to. But yeah, 2% move bounce off that. It's just really consolidating. Again, I think this is coming into a point as well. I think we'll see all these things. I think if gold wants to move up higher, I think it's going to drag. I think that's going to be the one to watch. And I think that's going to drag silver and drag copper up a little bit with it as well. Because, yeah, this is very much sort of coming into a point, but I'd be reluctant to sort of be anything too short on this thing. Particularly as you can see, there's a nice little sell-off here, but how quickly it just got bang, sport straight back up. So, yeah, I think really till US dollar turns around, all these things are just stuck in the buy mode. Cool. And what's that? Gold, silver, DXY, and I think that's just about it. So just a quick one today, and we'll see how the rest of this session pans out. But pretty much, I think the best thing to do at the moment is just bet on these continuations. All right, that's it for me.